friends! We're so excited to be back for this special holiday traditions episode. It was intended to come out 2 weeks ago, but we had recording difficulties, illnesses, moves, and house showings, and messy children who continually ruined my plans for my day. So we're late. But the good news is we're here now, and we have some really special things that are coming up in the new year. So for now, enjoy this episode about holiday traditions and their historic roots. You're listening to the Pithy Chronicle, history with a bite. I'm Caroline.
And I'm Erica, and we bring you history's dirtiest deeds, dripping with sarcasm.
Are you hungry yet?
Welcome back, Pithy listeners.
Erica and I are excited to bring something kind of special today. We are going to do an in-depth look at some of the holiday season's most interesting traditions. And then we're going to put up on our Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok a little survey, and you can decide which of these is your favorite.
Are you going to get us started off today, Caroline?
Oh, I'd love to. Seeing as it's almost Christmas time, we should start with the Christmas tree, because that's the first decoration that I put up at my house.
Yes, I have mine up. 2,400 lights seem to be exactly right for a 7.5-foot tree, in case anyone was wondering.
That's the ratio that we should be looking for.
And I have antique lights plus fat bulbs.
I like that.
Okay, but where are these origin stories? Because
I know you just want to pull the facts out at a Christmas party.
I am doing a lot of Christmas parties.
There you go. The modern tree as we know it, the Christmas tree, is now kind of a secular tradition available for all to enjoy and love. Evergreen, pine, fir, those are the more traditional. Obviously, you can do a fresh cut, a potted, or even an artificial. Erica, I see that you've gone artificial this year.
I've gone artificial this year mostly because of the pandemic. When we were in Rhode Island, I knew that once I got to Destination X in Rhode Island, I was not allowed to leave because of the quarantine. So on my way up, who's to say I can't go to a Wally World and go to the bathroom and just happen to pick up a Christmas tree?
It could easily be your snack stop.
Exactly. Because Walmart has it all.
You never know what you can find.
It is essential because I could have gotten a rotisserie chicken or anything like that. So
that's right.
I picked up a very necessary Christmas tree.
Very necessary.
So that's the one we have now.
That's nice. That's nice. We haven't put ours up yet because we are moving in the next few months. And so we're showing the house.
Oh.
So we are not putting it up until after.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say you're not putting it up at all. And I was like,
No. We're putting it up, but we're taking pictures of the house. And she said it needed to be seasonal neutral. So I had to change out my Christmas wreath to be a very non-committal wreath, things like that. But we're back to the Christmas tree. Where did it come from?
Germany.
Yes. But even before that, you are right.
Tell me more.
Most people think that the way the English-speaking world got the Christmas tree was from Prince Albert of Queen Victoria fame. But actually, that's not quite true. It came over before that with Princess and then Queen Charlotte, who was married to George III, Mr. I Lost America. And you can see her, obviously, in Bridgerton. So she was the German queen who brought over the tradition of the Christmas tree. But Victoria and Albert, because they were such an iconic family and they kind of let the world in and to see what their familial life was like, they also had Christmas trees because they were both German. I don't care what people say about Victoria. She was actually German. She spoke German.
Tell me how you really feel.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, she's a Hanoverian.
She's a Hanoverian. She's German-ish.
Yeah.
She just happens to rule the British Empire.
She's a Hanoverian, and she married into Schleswig-Holstein something.
So we can actually trace the idea of evergreen trees and wreaths and garlands as symbolism for eternal life back to the customs of ancient Egyptians, Chinese, and Hebrews. Tree worship was quite common among pagan Europeans, and I think that's where you get this connection with Germany. It was one of the few things that survived the pagan conversion to Christianity thanks to Charlemagne's mom. The Scandinavian custom was to decorate one's house and barn with evergreens at New Year's to scare away the devil, and also to provide birds a little home for Christmas time, which I thought was nice.
That's very sweet.
The German tradition has a Yule tree at the entrance to the house during the midwinter holiday. And the Baltic cities of Riga, Latvia, and Tallinn, Estonia both claim to be the home of the first official Christmas tree. So not German.
Tell me more.
Records from 1441 from Tallinn, Estonia, reported that a tree was brought into the town square for a dance, a midwinter dance. And then in 1510, the Brotherhood of Blackheads, which, that's a name.
Oh my. It's really in the nose, isn't it?
Oh, wow. The Blackheads, they were a group of bachelor merchants, and they decided to decorate Riga's town center to celebrate the winter solstice with a huge tree. But the tree that we're thinking of today really gets its official origins, as you said, from Western Germany, where they had what was called a paradise tree. And this was the main prop in a popular medieval play about Adam and Eve.
Which is not exactly what you think of for Christmas time, and
It's not.
certainly not a lighthearted tale.
Nope.
The fall of mankind, not exactly the holiday spirit.
Not exactly. But appropriation is the name of the game when it comes to Christian holidays. So things from other places, other times, other eras often are just kind of conglomerated into one. So this paradise tree would have been hung with apples, not ornaments, obviously to represent Eve's downfall in the Garden of Eden. And you would set this up in your home on December 24th, which was the religious feast day of Adam and Eve. It was traditionally also hung with wafers to symbolize the Eucharist host, which is the Christian sign of redemption, perfect for Christ's pre-birthday.
Well, yeah, nothing says happy birthday than you're gonna die, and here's the body of Christ.
That's true. That's not great.
No. I mean, it's great for everyone else for, like, the whole redemption thing, but, like,
Yep.
not great for him.
Not great.
Not great for
The
him.
wafer was eventually replaced by cookies of various shapes and sizes, which I think we can all get on board with.
I can be behind that.
And then they added in candles as a symbol of Christ as the light of the world. Also highly dangerous.
Yeah, absolutely.
Totally stupid.
No one's worried about burning Moscow, nothing like that.
I'm going to say that the medieval world was highly flammable.
Yeah.
And we should have taken that into consideration.
And they did not. They said the Lord will protect us.
There was also a tradition to put up a Christmas pyramid, which were triangular wood constructions with shelves to hold Christmas figurines. And my mom actually has a couple that she brought back from a trip to Germany. And they're like lovely and beautiful, and you can still buy them there, and they're very detailed wood carvings. And you would decorate those with evergreens and candles, and you would have a star at the top. So by the 16th century, the paradise tree and the Christmas pyramid had merged into the Christmas tree.
Got
So
it.
there you have
Okay.
it. Martin Luther, as in 99 Theses, is rumored to have been the first one to add lights to the Christmas tree, so we can blame him for many deaths and fires.
And many, many scrapes on hands putting lights on trees now. That's me.
Well, and think about this sap.
Ugh.
I hate the sap. The sap is the worst part. The Christmas tree was widespread among German Lutherans by the 18th century, so it was quite common. And that is when Queen Charlotte brought it over to England. It was then made popular, as we said, by Prince Albert, the husband of Queen Victoria. And they decorated theirs with toys and small gifts, candles, candies, popcorn, and string, fancy cakes, which, yes please, fancy cakes on a tree, and ribbons and paper chains.
Do you put on popcorn garland?
No, I grew
What
up
about dry
with...
oranges?
No, my parents had the wooden garland, the very traditional but reusable garland, and then
I have red ones.
but I generally do ribbon.
Yeah.
The Christmas tree was brought to North America by German settlers as early as the 17th century. And then it was brought to China and Japan by Western missionaries around the 19th century. And there, instead of doing ornaments, it's often done with intricate paper origami designs.
Can confirm, still not a huge thing.
Still not a huge thing.
Now, I have gotten a couple of ornaments.
Let's talk about what these ornaments are for. Originally, as we said, it was the notion of the wafer for the Eucharist. maybe some popcorn to attract the birds up in Scandinavia where they were providing a lovely little home, and apples. But as time went on, things became fancier because who doesn't love to commercialize a holiday? They got fancy. Blown glass ornaments were really the first primo choices around the 1870s, produced in workshops in Germany and Bohemia. In the US, F.W. Woolworth, the department store, sold $25 million in ornaments annually by the year 1890.
Oh my God.
I was kind of surprised by the price of Christmas this early on.
Yeah.
In the 1890s is also when you start to get strings of electric lights.
Mm-hmm.
In the 1930s, the artificial tree was developed for those of us that can't get a real tree or just don't like sap.
Or constant
vacuuming. Or you have a cat. Or you have children. Or. The artificial ones were, of course, developed in the US, made of brush bristles. And by the 1950s, there was mass production of these. And of course, we get some fun examples with the aluminum trees and the all white. And I just saw a neon pink one the other day. So the Christmas tree was a nice conglomeration of traditions from across the world that kind of merged in the 17th century in Western Germany to become the Christmas tree we know today.
Well, there you have that.
So, what is our second holiday tradition we're going to discuss?
The origins of St. Nicholas. I just assumed he would be German. He's not.
He's Scandinavian, isn't he?
Nope.
Ooh.
He's from Turkey.
Unexpected.
The legend of Santa Claus can be traced back hundreds of years to a monk named St. Nicholas. It's believed that he was born around 280 AD in modern-day Turkey. He was obviously admired for his piety because, hello, saint.
Monk.
And his kindness. And St. Nicholas became the subject of lots of legends. From what I can infer, it seems like he was either wealthy prior to becoming a monk or in the nobility or he had money because he gave away all of his earthly possessions, all of his wealth to the poor and sick. And one of the best known stories is how he saved 3 poor destitute sisters from being sold into slavery by their father, no less.
Ew.
Yeah, exactly.
Ugh.
By providing them a dowry so they could be married.
Oh my.
And do you know, don't look, but do you know who St. Nicholas is the protector of?
Children?
Yes, and?
Toy makers?
No.
I don't know.
Sailors!
Why?
I don't know.
Okay, well that was
random, right?
Random. Why sailors?
Yeah, I don't know.
Why sailors?
Couldn't find an answer.
I wonder if his sleigh is some sort of like a ship metaphor.
Could be.
Ahoy! Maybe he's not saying ho ho ho. He's saying
I'll try
ahoy,
to Google.
ahoy,
I'll try to
ahoy.
Google and see if I can find.
Probably not.
Nicholas is said to have visited the Holy Land. The ship he was on was nearly destroyed by a terrible storm, but he rebuked the waves, causing the storm to subside.
Bad waves. Bad waves.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. He rebuked the waves and apparently, in Jesus' name. And
Amen.
the seas quieted and everyone was safe, and that's how he became the patron saint of sailors, travelers, and, well, other reasons, but
Yes.
children.
Excellent.
He has his own feast day in December, but it is early on in the month. It's December 6th, so...
When I was younger, there was this kid in my class named Bobby, and he told us all that tomorrow, December 6th, was St. Nicholas Day, and that you just have to leave your shoes outside your door, and St. Nicholas brings you gifts. I got a TV last year.
In his shoe?
In his shoe! One has questions. So I go home, and then at around probably 7:38, I'm getting ready for bed, and I'm like, oh, Mom, don't forget, I have to put my shoes outside my door. And my mother says, what now? Because it's St. Nicholas Day, and St. Nicholas brings presents tonight if you put your shoes outside your door. My mom was like, what now? And I said, yeah, Bobby got a TV last year. And to my mom's credit, I did wake up with a few small trinkets.
Good mom.
My mom was so mad.
And as a parent now, I can absolutely see that. So funny enough that you mentioned that, because St. Nicholas Day is supposed to be really great for several things. a lucky day to make large purchases if you wanted to get a car or a house or even a wedding. It's apparently a very lucky day for weddings.
It might be a great day to purchase a Patreon for us.
It would be. And you know what?
It would be such a great investment.
And not a large purchase. Not a large purchase at all.
Just enough to keep things moving.
Please help me keep things moving. By the Renaissance, St. Nicholas was the most popular saint in Europe, and he even survived the Protestant Reformation as a very venerated and super popular saint.
That's interesting.
Especially in Holland.
Yeah.
He was like very, very popular in Holland.
I remember that Kirsten, American Girl doll.
Yes!
She was from Holland and she wore the wreath on her head for St. Nicholas.
With the candles.
With the candles, which again seems dangerous.
Badass.
Or badass. I like how we went
two different
roads there.
Mm-hmm.
The next thing we're going to discuss, and I mean, I don't know what else you could discuss when it comes to holidays except for fruitcake.
Ugh.
As Johnny Carson said, there is only one fruitcake in the entire world, and people just keep sending it to each other.
He's not wrong.
Widespread hatred of the fruitcake, which Erica evidently partakes in. But it was not always despised. In fact, before refrigerators, it was very popular because it had such a long shelf life. It could be brought overseas and still remain edible after your month-long voyage.
Well, let me tell you, my parents and my in-laws are huge fans of fruitcake.
Is it hard?
No. My dad super loves the homemade Southern style. But let me tell you the most disgusting things he'll do with it. He will take a slice. He will heat up a frying pan. He will put in butter and the cake and fry it, get it good and toasted, and then he'll eat it.
Meh.
It's gonna be a meh for me. But that was what they had when he was growing up.
Traditionally, the British monarchy also has fruitcake as their wedding cake.
Mm-hmm.
And again, the reasoning is timeline. You can make it weeks, months in advance, and it'll taste the same now as it did then, which is not what I would want someone to say about something that I baked currently.
No.
I can't imagine what Prue and Paul would say about a cake that could survive months of just sitting out.
No.
But the fruitcake remains popular. So where did it come from? It might have come from as far back as ancient Egypt. They found versions of fruitcake placed in tombs for when a relative died. And, you know, honestly, it could probably survive with them to the afterlife.
Yeah, listen, if it's making a voyage across the Atlantic, it can go down.
Travel down the Nile to the Field of Reeds.
The Field of Reeds.
I think a good fruitcake with extra hardness could probably survive.
I think you could make it.
It was also taken with Romans onto the battlefield. A bit like hardtack.
So you're beating somebody to death? Man, I really need a piece of freaking fruitcake.
Yeah, it's when your strength is waning. You've been battling for hours and you just have a bite. My question is, they didn't have very many teeth, so like what were they chewing it with?
Oh my.
The medieval times continued the tradition of the fruitcake, and by the 18th century, it was actually outlawed in parts of Europe for being sinfully rich. Which, what else were they eating if fruitcake was sinfully rich? In the Victorian era, the fruitcake became a staple for tea parties, and then it eventually fell out of favor. And Erica, do you have any guesses as to why that might have been?
Twofold. My guess is twofold. Firstfold, the Depression, but also that could have been a good thing if it kept super long. And second is dental health because of the Depression. If you can't afford to go get your teeth fixed, you can't be munching
on rocks
on this sinfully rich dessert. Yeah.
No, but I like where your head is.
I tried.
It was because the refrigerator came about and now we could eat good cake.
Oh, thank God.
Once there was an option for better tasting cake, it was out. In Manitou Springs, Colorado, and I find this interesting because I will be moving to Colorado next, they host the fruitcake toss. Participants can build catapults and cannons, and they have even destroyed a computer by chucking fruitcake at it.
Oh.
That is a strong piece of baking.
If your cake is being catapulted, strong work.
So to go along with my fruitcake that I don't eat because it doesn't taste good, I really like some eggnog.
I've actually not had the proper eggnog ever.
It started off as a medieval drink called posset.
Okay.
And posset...
That's disgusting.
Just the name?
It just sounds...
It doesn't sound yummy. It's not a scrumptious name.
No.
Posset was a mix of ale, hot milk, spices, and liquors. And eventually eggs were then added into the mix.
Liquors or liqueurs?
Liquors.
Okay.
Not liqueurs. It wasn't fancy.
Got it.
It was posset. So then it evolved through the millennia, and the nog part comes from the word noggin, which was the wooden cup that pubs used to serve it in. Eggnog was quite popular in colonial America. It's a very American tradition as far as I understand. It was brought over from Britain, like everything else in the colonial period. And it was a special occasion drink because it was actually quite expensive to make it. It had a lot of expensive materials in it. Interestingly, George Washington had a very alcohol-forward recipe for it that is quite famous even today, and supposedly it was served at his home in Mount Vernon. There is a recipe claimed to be penned in his own hand, though probably not, but we can pretend. And we're going to put it up on our website for listeners. But quickly, here is the official George Washington recipe for eggnog.
Allegedly.
1 quart cream, 1 quart milk, 1 dozen tablespoons of sugar, 1 pint of brandy, half a pint of rye whiskey, half a pint of Jamaica rum, a quarter pint of sherry, and then you mix all the liquor first. Then you separate the yolks and whites of 12 eggs. No small feat. You add sugar to the beaten yolks and mix well. Add the milk and the cream, beating it slowly. Then you beat the egg whites until they are stiff-peaked. Slowly fold the egg whites into the egg yolk mixture and then let it cool for several days.
No.
The final part says taste frequently. So thanks, George Washington, allegedly. So you can now impress your friends with historically accurate libations and then celebrate like it's $17.99.
Oh my.
Supposedly, George Washington loved it so much that he would greet his guests to Mount Vernon with a cup of eggnog. Or a noggin of eggnog. It's used for toasts of good health and good fortune because all of the ingredients would have represented good fortune at the very least because it would be very expensive to make this.
Honestly, all of it sounds fine until you set in place for several days. That was where it was a no for me.
With all that alcohol, nothing's gonna go bad.
Yeah.
Except for those egg yolks.
No good transition there other than to say St. Nicholas is actually a pretty New York tradition.
Oh.
He first came over into American popular culture towards the end of the 18th century, and in December 1773 and again in 74, a New York newspaper reported that groups of Dutch families had gathered to honor the anniversary of his death, his feast day. And the name Santa Claus came from his Dutch nickname called Sinterklaas, which is a shortened form of Sint Nicholas, which is Dutch for Saint Nicholas. And in 1804, John Pintard, a member of the New York Historical Society, distributed woodcuts of St. Nicholas at the Society's annual meeting. And the background, of course, has our familiar Santa with stockings filled with toys and fruit hung over a fireplace. Still, we don't have, at that point, our jolly old Saint Nick with a portly belly and the ho-ho-ho.
With the ho-ho-ho, yeah.
But he has the rosy nose.
Wait, what's up with his nose?
No, he has the rosy nose, and,
like a bulbous nose?
Puts his finger against his nose and sniffs like he's doing a line of coke and goes up the chimney.
What the flip are you talking about?
Yeah. He does this.
Have you just given him an alcoholic's nose? With cocaine? What kind of a Santa did you grow up with? This is horrifying!
And 'twas the night before Christmas.
I don't recall them mentioning cocaine, but okay.
I'm just saying it's alike.
Okay.
Or that's what all the movies look like anyway. Sometimes I really wish there was a video. I feel like it justifies so many more of my comments.
I don't know. I don't think there's any justifying the fact that you're mimicking Santa Claus doing a line of cocaine. That's not great.
Anyway, so...
Don't do drugs, children.
We
Santa says no to drugs.
Children should not be listening to this.
That's fair, for many reasons. Continue.
Washington Irving, Sleepy Hollow guy, so he's already done Ichabod Crane and the Headless Horseman in October, but he was like, you know what I need to do? I need to do something for this holiday. And so he helped to popularize Santa Claus stories.
I need to commercialize this holiday.
Yeah, commercialize this holiday.
Did you seriously just tap your nose again?
I didn't mean to.
Thumbing your nose. Oh my god.
Anyway, so when he referred to St. Nicholas as the patron saint of New York in his book, The History of New York.
Interesting.
And as his prominence grew, Santa Claus was described as everything from a rascal with a blue three-cornered hat with a red waistcoat and yellow stockings to a man wearing a broad-brimmed hat and a huge pair of Flemish trunk hose.
What are Flemish trunk hose?
I don't know. Let me look it up.
I'm imagining just the really hose. Or is it the one that has like the big bulbous butt area and then it kind of tapers down?
It's a very Tudor-esque.
Okay, so it is Tudor-esque hose.
I just took a screenshot.
It's leggings. Leggings.
I just sent it.
Oh my. So this looks to me like a tutu that's pants with the biker shorts hanging out and coming right at the knees. So you've got biker shorts to mid-thigh, and then you've got a very voluminous tutu effect that's actually shorts.
The Holy Roman Emperor at the time and the subsequent Charleses.
Okay,
like they had these
Charleses,
things going on.
But they didn't have the shorts.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, you're right. It does have that, like...
The exposed calf is very Versailles.
Yes. Okay.
It's a sexy Santa.
I don't qualify this as sexy Santa, but okay. So, I mentioned 'Twas the Night Before Christmas before, and it was written in 1822 by Clement Clark Moore, an Episcopal minister. He wrote it for his 3 daughters, an account of a visit from St. Nicholas, which became 'Twas the Night Before Christmas for its super famous first line.
And it is more catchy than an account.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
He was initially hesitant to publish because it was so frivolous and...
Well, he's a minister. It's kind of
He's a
taking
minister.
the very secular view of Christmas. And for an Episcopal minister, that's probably not great PR. Probably not.
But he's largely responsible for establishing our modern idea of Santa Claus as a right jolly old elf with a portly figure and the supernatural ability to ascend a chimney with a mere nod of his head.
I didn't hear anything about a nose. Or any kind of a sniff.
I'm not crazy.
You need to pull up this quote. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Crazy. And laying a finger aside of his nose and giving a nod up the chimney he rose.
That does sound like he's snorting cocaine.
I'm not crazy.
Never made that clear. I think you have a devilish mind, but otherwise, excellent work.
But also, like,
Good
how
sleeping.
else is he getting all of this done in 14 hours?
Fair enough. It gives him the energy to keep going. Oh my god. We do not promote the use of drugs and alcohol. Well, alcohol we do. We do not promote the use of drugs on the show.
Right now.
Okay. Cocaine-addled Santa, jolly, with an alcoholic's nose.
And written by an Episcopal minister. And the imagery was borrowed from other sources. His did, however, popularize Santa who flew from house to house on Christmas Eve in a miniature sleigh with, at the time, 8 flying reindeer to leave presents for deserving children.
Okay, so it's his fault.
An American icon.
It's his fault that for Christmas this year, my son's only request is a toy Santa sleigh with fake snow pulled by 9 pterodactyls. The first one of which needs a red beak.
Of course he does.
A la Rudolph.
And how is Santa?
Santa has been searching Amazon and other sites, and Santa has yet to find a full set, so I'm thinking it's going to be a bit of a project. If anyone here is selling a pterodactyl pulled sleigh, do let me know.
With a red Rudolph leader.
So thank you Clement Clark Moore.
Make Santa's life difficult.
Yeah.
It's all up to you now.
It's all up to me. Well, I'm actually going to take a little departure and talk about the dreidel. Because...
Oh, yay! I love the song because that's all I know about it.
Made it out of clay. This holiday season is a tough one because we definitely want to be as inclusive as possible. There are a lot of holiday traditions that we aren't mentioning right now. There are a number of different holidays being celebrated. But the dreidel for the tradition of Hanukkah is very symbolic. And so I wanted to look it up and figure out why this four-sided spinning top was used during the celebration of Hanukkah. A lot of rabbis have tried to figure it out because there isn't like an obvious connection. And so this... Yes, so we're going to look at a few different options, but the standard answer is that the letters on the dreidel in Hebrew are Nun, Gimel, He, and Shin. They appear on the dreidel in the diaspora, which is the Jewish people living outside or beyond Israel. And supposedly, according to some rabbis, stand for Nes Gadol Hayasham. A great miracle happened there. And I do not speak Hebrew, so apologies if I get this wrong. In Israel itself, the dreidel says something slightly different. It is the letters Nun, Gimel, He, and Pei replacing Shin, and that creates the phrase, a great miracle happened here. But there are a couple other things that might better explain it. One 19th century rabbi claimed that Jews played with the dreidel to fool the Greeks when they were caught studying the Torah. The Torah was outlawed in 175 BC when King Antiochus Epiphanes took control of the area that includes now present-day Syria, Lebanon, and Israel.
What a name.
Antiochus Epiphanes.
And not a great person, probably,
but good name.
Good name.
It feels like he will do something important, good, bad, or otherwise. And what he did was institute harsh decrees against all forms of Jewish life. He ordered that they were no longer allowed to keep kosher. They were forbidden to keep Shabbat or celebrate the Jewish holidays, and they were required to worship the Greek idols. So, the dreidel, the idea was that children would still gather together and be learning Hebrew and keeping the Torah alive. But if Greek soldiers were to raid the clandestine school, they would all then immediately take out these little spinning tops, the dreidel, and some coins and pretend that they had been playing this little gambling game. And that fits quite well with Hanukkah and this notion of keeping the religion alive even during the very hard point, keeping the faith.
Okay.
There's another explanation. It could be a numerological game. Every Hebrew letter has a numerical equivalent, and Nun, Gimel, He, and Shin, together their numbers equal 358, which is the same as the numerical equivalent of the word Mashiach, or Messiah. So maybe it refers to a Messiah. There's another option where the letters Nun, Gimel, He, and Shin represent the four kingdoms that tried to destroy the Jewish people. N for Nebuchadnezzar or Babylon, the H for Haman or Persia or Madai, Gimel for Greece, and the S is for Seir or Rome.
Okay.
But after all of this discussion, it turns out these were all invented after the fact. This is like a prophecy that's told after the event has already occurred.
Okay.
Basically, it was played by various people in many languages for centuries.
Okay.
England and Ireland had this game. Perhaps it was brought over by the Roman soldiers, and they think they can trace it all the way back to the early Middle East. The game was originally called in English totem, Latin for all, and it was very popular at Christmas time. In the English-speaking world, the dreidel first appeared around 1500. It had four letters T, H, P, and N. T for take all, H for half, P for put down, and N for nothing. In Germany, there was a very similar equivalent. They called it Torl or Trundle. And then eventually the word that was used in Yiddish, which was dreidel, became more popular. Ancient Babylonians also maybe used similar blocks to dreidels for gambling purposes. Instead of having letters, they would have pictures of the different gods symbolizing winning or losing. The dreidel represents an ironic part of Jewish history. Hanukkah is the celebration of a Jewish victory over cultural assimilation. However, the use of the dreidel as a representation of Hanukkah is an excellent, albeit small and fun, example of cultural assimilation.
Well, I really would like to tell you a little bit more about Santa around the world.
Ooh. Is he different in different places?
Kind of, yeah.
I know Hawaii has surfing Santa.
Yes, Mele Kalikimaka.
Absolutely. Listen to that literally on the car ride home.
Oh, it's one of my favorites. Anyway, so 18th century America Santa Claus was not the only St. Nicholas-inspired gift giver to make an appearance at Christmas time.
Oh.
There are similar figures, but not exact replicas around the world, like Christkind or Kris Kringle. That's actually a lot harder to say in succession than you think.
Christkind or Kris Kringle.
Yeah.
Tongue twister.
You gotta be very deliberate.
Sally sells seashells by the seashore.
Oh, absolutely not. I stink at tongue twisters.
Oh, I'm amazing.
Ugh, no thank you.
It's good to have a talent. I'm not sure that it'll ever make me any money, but man.
You never know.
Red leather,
People
yellow leather.
are getting way famous for way less.
That's fair. I could be an influencer for tongue twist.
Oh, that's weird, but I'm sure it's marketable to someone. Anyway, Christkind.
Yeah.
You're gonna make me do it again. So
She can't say it.
Christkind or Kris Kringle was believed to deliver presents to well-behaved Swiss and German children. And that literal translation is Christ child. And it's an angel-like figure, often accompanied by St. Nicholas on his holiday mission. So he literally has a little angel on his shoulder.
Interesting. A two for one.
Exactly. And I definitely just thought they were one.
I thought it was one person.
Kringle was just his alias or something, like he's a spy.
Ooh.
I don't know.
Spy
I know,
Santa,
right?
That makes me think of the elf on the shelf because it's kind of creepy.
Oh, yeah.
Like the whole message of, we're watching you.
It is, but did you know that the elf actually has a real name?
No.
In Scandinavia, a jolly elf named Jultomten was thought to deliver gifts in a sleigh drawn by goats.
No.
Yes, ma'am.
Ugh,
And-
too bad it's not pterodactyls.
Yeah, too bad it's not pterodactyls, but again, everyone got super mad about Thor Love and Thunder with the chariots drawn by goats.
But
and
goats are the thing, man.
It's actually a real thing.
The irony is that they actually have reindeer in Scandinavia.
Maybe goats are more utilitarian.
So they've gone goat.
English legend explains that Father Christmas visits each home on Christmas Eve to fill children's stockings with holiday treats. Père Noël is responsible for filling the shoes of French children, and in Italy, which is, I think, my favorite, there is a story of a woman called La Befana, a kindly witch who rides a broomstick down chimneys of Italian homes to deliver toys into the stockings of lucky children. I mean, now that is a Christmas tradition.
Amazing. Is there room on the broom for me?
That's such a good book.
I love it.
I'm just gonna dive right on into Yule.
Well, so I have a question about Yule.
Okay.
What is the difference between Yule and Christmas?
Yule was a pagan festival that followed the midwinter solstice, which is usually celebrated on the 21st of December.
Okay.
It celebrated the return of the sun as the days slowly start to get longer again.
Okay, warming.
The festivities did involve, as any good party does, a lot of drinking and consuming of slaughtered animals.
Excellent.
It lasted up to 12 days, hence the 12 days of Christmas.
So the song is based off of actually this Yule tradition, not a Christmas tradition.
Exactly.
And Yule was pagan.
In Scandinavia, it is still traditional to leave food out, like porridge or butter, something much more practical than our cookies and milk and carrots. For the little red-capped tomte or nisse, which are house spirits or house elves. And that's where we get our tradition, though, of our cookies and carrots for Father Christmas or St. Nick and all of his 8 tiny reindeer.
So my son has just turned 5, and he's full of questions this year about Santa.
I love it.
Question literally on the drive today: how does Santa go potty? He was like, he drinks a lot of milk, Mom. When is he going to the bathroom? That was his question.
He has a magic pill beforehand.
Oh, see, I need to go online and research the answers parents are supposed to give.
Oh, I literally came up with that right now.
I said maybe we should leave him special toilet paper.
Oh, that's cute. But it can be like a reverse diuretic, and there is historical precedent for that. In the Regency era, there obviously wasn't a ton of time to go pee.
We know Versailles was just coated in pee.
Yeah, we know a lot of women, though, would take diuretics, so they would pee, and then would A, lose some weight, and then B, not pee so much at the event.
Is that what the stars do for the Oscars?
Yeah, when I was in the pageant circuit...
Spanx and diuretics.
Yeah, what I would do, and this is terrible, was you coat yourself in either Bengay or hemorrhoid cream and wrap yourself in cellophane and then layer as many compression items on as you can. You sleep that way, you sweat out all that extra water, and you're ready to put a swimsuit on in front of 80,000 people.
You are joking.
No.
You covered yourself in Bengay and then cellophane and then Spanx.
Girls gotta do what a girl's gotta do.
I had no idea there was so much involved.
It's all science.
All right, so diuretics for Santa. What else have we got?
The Christmas goat, because there's actually a lot of Yule...
Oh, the goats.
Yule info about this goat.
The Yule goat.
The origins are lost to the mists of time.
Great phrase.
But the Yule Bok, or the Yule goat, is nowadays made from straw, which indicates it was probably once like an offering or a sacrifice made for the harvest.
Like the British corn dolls.
Exactly. But other traditions have a man dressing up as the goat at Yuletide, which could be a distant memory of a pagan fertility ritual, or even be connected to the two goats who pulled Thor's chariot and also Yule-Tomte's chariot in Norse mythology.
I am just loving how our Christmas traditions are merging through fertility rituals for Mary's birth in a barn with the goat.
Yeah. And
Conglomeration holidays.
It's very interesting how things interweave. So, we're going back to winter solstice. It's a pretty inauspicious night when Odin was said to ride through the skies with the wild hunt, collecting the souls of the dead.
Ooh.
So everyone would stay indoors for these feastings, and they would not go outside lest they be caught out alone and whipped up and abducted by this wild hunt, which, speaking of biblical subtext, is definitely
plague,
there.
First sons, the lamb's
Which is
blood.
Passover, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, okay, fair.
It still has biblical subtext. So King Haakon of Norway, who was a Christian, passed a law that Christian Christmas Day and the pagan Yuletide were to be celebrated at the same time. So that's why we have these two very different religions and rituals coming together. Thank you, King Haakon of Norway.
Hack on.
So, we do know that the celebration of Yule wasn't always 12 days long. The Norse text, the Saga of Haakon the Good, talks about it lasting as long as the ale continued.
That's the answer. As long as there's feasting and drinking, it can continue.
Exactly. It became known as Slaughter Night, where animals would be ritualistically slain and their blood collected in bowls to be splattered all over the wooden idols and gods over the participants using a bunch of twigs. The animal's meat was then consumed in a feast, which was known as the Yule Blot.
The Yule Blot, where they eat the Yule Bok.
There's also a Yule Log.
Oh, okay.
The burning of the Yule Log is significant because the ashes and the remains of it were used to ward off spirits and other misfortunes before being ignited again the following year to start the subsequent Yule fire. So it was one tradition leading to another, a continuous chain.
I like that.
Another thing that signifies too is Odin as the god of death and transition. It's always honored at this time, especially with the Yule Log and those ashes transitioning.
Well, the wild hunt
Exactly.
refers to death and transition.
Yeah. So apparently this wild hunt rages all over the whole world, seeking out and sweeping up the dead, ushering out the dead year itself. And it's also common to honor Freyr, his consort, who envisions a new year of growth and promise and all of this prosperity.
So Odin is the death and the finishing of the year, and then his consort Freyr is the rebirth, bringing in the new. Okay.
And Thor, of course, is honored for driving his chariot with goats and fighting back the frost giants.
You gotta
But
fight
mostly the
giants.
goats.
Oh, the frost giant, like Frozen.
That, and even, you remember the old claymation? There was the Abominable Snowman.
Yes! I've been looking for those for my kids.
They're on YouTube.
Yes, I found them.
You can also thank Scandinavian Yule traditions for no work being done on the holidays.
Well, thank you. Although, as a mother, doing Christmas, getting the decorations, getting the food,
there's definitely work,
done.
but you don't have to go to the office.
There you go.
From Germanic sources, we see stories of the goddess Berchta visiting people's houses and punishing those who had been spinning during Yule. And in Icelandic tradition, Svarfdalia, we see a warrior who postpones a fight until after Yuletide, lest he dishonor the gods and anger them.
Well, that makes me think of the German and English soldiers during the First World War.
Yep.
The Christmas truce.
Yep.
Singing broke out from each side of the camp, and the voices kind of carried and merged, and then eventually a soccer game was played.
Exactly.
That's really sweet.
Even the saga of Hakan the Good talks about Yule being kept holy. And many gods and goddesses were celebrated and honored this time of year. Most followers also believed gods as well as spirits of the earth and their ancestors would join in the celebrations for this time of year. So for the longest night of the year, winter solstice, they believed that the veil was very thin, kind of like they do in Samhain.
Dia de los Muertos as well.
Yeah.
This is the night that you can commune with the dead.
Also around that Halloween time, which is Samhain, which is a pagan ritual, which is,
Okay.
Stacks on stacks on stacks.
This is why I wanted to do this episode, because it is so cool to watch how thousands of years of various cultural traditions have continued to merge and evolve and shift, and what we have today is not so different than what they had 1,000 years ago. We just have incorporated so many other traditions.
This whole episode lends itself to the meaning of Christmas, which is be kind to your neighbor and enjoy the life that you have been able to lead
and
this
celebrate
year.
with your family and with your friends the way that you want to. Everybody has different traditions.
So, to finish this up, I've got a quick 12 days of Christmas, 12 days of Yule. Are you ready?
Partridge in a pear tree. Let's do it.
The first night of Yule is Mother's Night, or Modernit, and it's sacred to Frigg, Freya, and the Disir, honoring industriousness, which is
very motherly
and unglamorous. Thank you so much.
Womanhood,
yep.
In a nutshell.
The second night of Yule is the Wild Hunt, and that's when the veil is supposed to be really thin, and you honor Odin, your ancestors, and of course there's this really nice idea of perseverance and how family,
it's continual,
all persevere with you through time. The third night of Yule is sacred to Mani and the darkness. Mani is the god who pulls the moon in a chariot across the sky.
Lovely.
And we celebrate courage that night.
Courage in the face of darkness.
Fourth night of Yule is sacred to the Aegir, Njord, and Fair. And of course they talk about love because Fair is the consort of Odin and the spirit of renewal. And it's nice to think that love will conquer all. Then we have the fifth night of Yule, and that's sacred to community, and we celebrate hospitality then.
Very fitting for this time when you're having these big
exactly.
feasts and celebrations.
Give me more deviled eggs. Am I right or am I right?
With eggnog.
Ooh.
Maybe not together.
So bad. The sixth night of Yule is sacred to the ear and healing, and we celebrate discipline that night.
Discipline.
The seventh night of Yule is sacred to Thor and children and fidelity. Three things that really don't go together for Norse mythology.
Really. Definitely not the fidelity bit.
The eighth night of Yule is sacred to Skadi and and truth is also celebrated that night.
Truth.
The ninth night of Yule is sacred again to Odin and fathers, as he is the All-Father. And of course, they get something very glamorous to celebrate, like honor.
They get honor and we get industriousness.
Hardly seems fair.
You can tell who wrote these traditions.
The 10th night of Yule is sacred to Sunna and light, which also celebrates justice. A nice juxtaposition. The 11th night of Yule is sacred to the Valkyries and the warriors, and they celebrate self-reliance, which makes a whole lot of sense.
It does.
And finally, we are going a wassailing on the 12th night of Yule, which is sacred to all divine friends and Oath Night, and they celebrate wisdom.
Wassail.
Voila.
All right.
All done.
I love it.
Now you can share all of these newfound facts, be the smartest one at
the Christmas table.
Your endless amount of Christmas parties this year.
We'll sail away. Make sure to share with your friends and family who you really want to see drunk the George Washington eggnog recipe, because it will knock you on your ass.
Did it knock you on your butt?
I have not made this exact version, but I am putting it out when this episode airs. It'll be on all of our socials, so you can make it this year. I'm going to make it this year. I will not be letting it sit for days at a time.
Yeah, no thank you.
I think I'm going to go with a refrigerator, but otherwise, I'm excited about it. So we'll see how it goes. I would also say add nutmeg and cinnamon.
Yeah.
Just a thought.
And that, my friends, is that. Thank you so much for joining us, and we hope you have a happy holiday.
I'm Caroline.
And I'm Erica, and we are Pithily Yours.
This episode is brought to you by the Pithy Chronicle, LLC. The Pithy Chronicle is intended for education, entertainment, and non-commercial purposes. Any views or opinions expressed in this podcast are personal and do not represent those of people, institutions, or organizations that the owner may or may not be associated with in a professional or personal capacity. While we offer lots of sarcasm, this podcast does not offer any advice or services. Listening to this podcast may induce fits of laughter, unexpected distraction, or uncontrollable rage at the subjects, hopefully not at us. We hope you learned something today. If not, so sorry. Please be advised we are not experts in the following fields: medical, legal, financial, technological, thermonuclear engineering, submarine warfare, neuroscience, or cat husbandry. Thanks for listening to our little disclaimer. Just covering our history-loving asses. Bye!